good to see you guys again, even though not in person. And I especially am sad we're going to miss out on a lot of the questions and answers. You always have so much input to the nutrition topics. This time, our topic is talking about how our nutrition changes as we age. And no matter if you're 22 or 62, you're aging. And your nutrition needs do change with that. So we're going to take a closer look at what you should be aware of and what you might change or at least think about changing in response to getting older and making sure that you stay healthy. So over the past 30 years, our lifespan has increased by 10 years. And that's really significant. So we're living longer. We're not necessarily healthy, though, as we live longer. And none of us wants to live to 90 but be in a nursing home or debilitated. So taking good care of our health now can help us, when we do live longer, get more out of life. And nutrition is a big part of helping you achieve that goal. Okay, so, give me a second. Here we go. All right, so we're going to really focus on how you can stay strong and maximize your energy and keep this way as you grow older. So our first one is staying strong. And what you need to know about staying strong is, number one, starting in your mid-20s. That's when the physiological effects of aging begin. So pretty young. So most of us are already aging. We've already peaked. So mid-20s is about when we peak, and after that point your muscle mass starts to go down. And when it goes down, this is why when we're hopefully going to see the Olympics sometime here in the next year, you'll notice that all the people competing for the most part are around this age or a little younger. So after this, as we start to lose muscle, that has an effect on our metabolism. So one of the big changes as we get older is that loss of muscle, which we call sarcopenia, leads to a slowing of our metabolism. And that means we get less calories. So some of the muscle loss you can't really control. Your actual organs shrink, and that actually has one of the biggest effects on your metabolism. So how many calories you get every day. But your skeletal muscle, you do have a big impact on. And your diet has the biggest impact on that. So exercise is important. Absolutely, you have to stay active. You can't just eat and be sedentary. But you go a long way for preserving the muscle you have by making sure that you're getting enough protein. So starting around age 50 is really when we see protein needs change. And you can see on the board I gave you an example of how they jump. We compared somebody here in their 20s to somebody who's 50, and you can see that just during that time there's a 15-gram increase in their expected daily protein needs. So that's equivalent to a couple glasses of milk or a couple ounces of meat, or 2 or 3 eggs, just to give you an example of what that might look like. Or if we're talking beans, for all of you that hopefully are still thinking about plant-based diets, that is about a cup of beans, so quite a bit. But your protein needs increase, and that, again, that's for a 150-pound person. So basically your protein needs go up. They start at about half a gram per pound, or we usually say it in kilograms. It's 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And then they go up to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight when you hit about 50. So again, the importance of increasing that protein is to help preserve your muscle. And these are more recent recommendations. In my lifetime, this has been a big change, even in the past 20 years, that we've come to really recommend the changes in protein needs, realizing how important that is for helping people stay stronger and more mobile as they get older. And 50 is young, so right around 50 you need to be aware, time to increase your protein. You can do that through maybe adding a little bit more portion at your meals or through a snack, but remember, you get less calories. So you're going to have to compensate for that increase in protein by taking out calories elsewhere. A lot of people choose to do this by cutting back on their carbohydrate portion, and that's not a bad route to go unless you're highly active and you need those increased carbohydrates. And highly active, let me define, if you're exercising an hour or more a day, that would be highly active. Otherwise, for most of us, to compensate for our shrinking need of calories and our increasing need of protein, we want to maybe think about cutting back on some of the carbohydrates. Okay, so also to stay strong, our vitamin D and our calcium needs increase. And I think when we think of vitamin D and calcium, we go to bones first. That's well established. Both of those nutrients are essential for bone health. And absolutely, you need to make sure you have enough calcium and enough vitamin D. But yes, we want strong bones. But we're talking about muscle as well here. So vitamin D especially is really important for making sure that we keep strong muscles. Vitamin D has a lot to do with muscle recovery and muscle health, and we're discovering every day how many things vitamin D does impact, but muscle's one of them. When we hit, again, most of the nutrition changes that we're going to talk about, your needs stay, most of them are fairly the same from ages 18 to 50. And so 50 is the real demarcating point where nutrition needs really change. So at this point, vitamin D is one of the things, and calcium, that your needs go up. So both of them go up slightly. For those of you that want numbers, your calcium needs go from about 1,000 milligrams a day to 1,200 milligrams a day. And your vitamin D levels go from about 600 international units to 800 international units. Now with vitamin D, considering that most of America, about 66% of us, are deficient in vitamin D already, most of us are going to need probably to supplement more than that because we don't usually get it in diet. So vitamin D is not found in a lot of foods. Salmon is one of them, fortified mushrooms, but really our main source of vitamin D comes from the sun. And one of the effects with aging is because of the changes in your skin, you're less able to absorb and activate vitamin D from the sun. So that's another reason our needs go up. We're not able to absorb it as well, but also we need it to help protect that muscle. So increased vitamin D, you may be deficient already, you're having increased needs as you get older, not much found in food. This means this is something that might be wise to supplement. You can get your vitamin D levels checked at the doctor to see where they are. But if you don't want to do that, it certainly is not a bad idea to supplement about 2,000 international units a day. That's a fairly safe recommendation for most of the population, regardless if you know your vitamin D levels or not. And I would recommend you do it. This could have a profound impact, not just on staying strong, but staying healthy, avoiding disease. So vitamin D, really important takeaway as you look at the next years of your life and trying to stay healthy. This is one thing that you can do, and probably you need to do through a supplement. But let's take a closer look. We talked a lot about vitamin C and calcium. Here's kind of the essential parts that we just talked about, and a little for those of you that we needed a note about the food sources. They're listed on this slide. Okay, when we're talking about increase in energy, no surprise, it's not uncommon for us to be more tired the older we get. And certainly we got to think about sleep being a factor in that. Our sleep needs don't really change during these years of our life. They stay about 7 to 9 hours a day, even with age. It's just that you're less likely to get the quality of sleep the older you get that you did when you were young. So you sometimes have to get more sleep in different stages, naps, that would be, or other ways. You may have to take more measures to make sure you have a quieter room or a darker room or a colder room, but things that can help you, or avoiding that screen time before you go to bed, that's a big one. But you might have to take more measures to make sure that you can focus more on sleep, because sleep is still the foundation of having adequate energy and feeling healthy and vital as we age. But beyond that, there are some nutrition things that we can do for our energy as we age. One of the biggest things we can do is to focus on our hydration. Of course, always something really important no matter what age you're at, but because of physiological changes that occur as you age, hydration becomes even more important. So one of the big changes that you have as you get older, I mentioned this when we were talking about metabolism, is your organ sizes actually shrink, and kidneys is one of those. So when your kidneys start to get smaller and they have decreased blood flow to your kidneys, they don't work as efficiently. And so we need to do a better job of helping them out and making sure that we're staying hydrated. Also, the amount of water that you had in your body when you're young compared to when you get older decreases quite a bit. And you can see in this example, it shows a 4 to 6 liter water loss. And it looks like that guy's, with a cane and maybe severely older than a lot of us in the workforce. But this change is occurring, as I said, really it starts in our mid-20s. We're gradually decreasing the amount of water along with the muscle in our body, but that's the aging changes taking place, meaning that we need to do a better job of putting water in because we're not keeping the water in our body and we're not processing it quite as efficiently. So hydration has a lot to do with your energy level. Dehydration is one of the #1 causes of fatigue. So as you get older, you may have to be more aware, especially in the afternoon when that afternoon slump occurs, and you probably aren't in a place where you can take that afternoon nap yet. So instead, you may want to reach for 16 ounces of fluid or water first to try to help peak your energy levels. That should be your first go-to. That's really going to help. And while we're talking about hydration, I want to spend just a second talking about alcohol. Alcohol is a fluid, but it doesn't count towards hydration because the alcohol acts as a diuretic and actually can dehydrate you. So one of the changes that we see with aging is when people do get older and sometimes develop a problem with drinking and alcohol, 35% of the population that has a drinking problem that's over age 60 developed that drinking problem after the age of 60. So there may be a host of reasons why this occurs. I'm not here to really discuss those, but when we think about nutrition and aging, I want to talk about that impact. It means that you may be more likely, if you're already using alcohol, even doing so safely and responsibly, as you get older to reach for more. This does have profound nutrition impact. Of course, if you end up being a person that maybe abuses alcohol, of course that's going to have profound impacts on your health. And it's not the route you want to go. It's certainly not going to help with energy levels or staying healthy. But one of the big changes we have to think about is because we have decreased renal function, we're not able to stay hydrated, you're more likely going to feel the effects of that alcohol a lot faster than you did when you were younger. Also, because you don't get as many calories if you're increasing the amount of alcohol that you're drinking. And this can be is just 3 drinks a day. That's too many. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, 3 drinks is too many. So even that small amount can displace nutrients that you should be getting for food. So let me put this clearly. If you're drinking alcohol and you're not gaining weight, it means that the calories that are in that alcohol you're drinking are displacing other food. So in other words, if you're maintaining your weight and you're including alcohol, especially in excess of what's considered healthy, which would be 3 drinks at least for everyone, is not healthy in a day, then it is taking away from nutrition that you need. And that becomes more problematic the older we get because we get less calories. And as we continue talking, we're going to find out we also, our body's GI system, all of our gastrointestinal tract doesn't function as well, and we don't absorb the nutrients that we need from the food we do eat as we age compared to when we're young. So alcohol can become even more detrimental to our long-term health. So really that's something that I want you to put in your mind and want you to think about as you get older, is how does alcohol fit in? And if it's fitting in more for women more than 1 drink a day, or for men more than 2 drinks a day, it's too much and it's having an impact on your health. Okay? So as we talk about some of those changes with your body and your organs and your GI system, while we're still on hydration, just a minute here, I want to emphasize that one of the big changes that we know about and we joke about with people as we get older is constipation. So constipation is an issue for one of the reasons right here is that we're less able to stay hydrated as we get older. And so one of the ways that you cannot fall into that trap, and again, we're not talking about 80-year-old people in the nursing home, we're talking about these changes really hitting those of us as we had, well, certainly after mid-20s, but especially after 50. You become higher risk. It may be more of an issue for you. So staying on top of your hydration is one of the most important things you can do to also help avoid constipation. So other changes that occur as we really look at why, besides your organs and the hydration, we talked about the changes in your GI system. So let's talk about how that impacts some of your nutrition needs specifically. And here we're going to dive into energy. And I've highlighted here some of the B vitamins, B6 and B12 in particular you have a greater need as you get older. And there's a couple reasons for this. With B12, even if you have a fantastic diet that's rich in B12, you have increased needs as you get older because your stomach acid decreases as you age. This is one of those GI changes that's occurring with age. So that lack of stomach acid means that you're less able to absorb the B12 that you do eat from food. And research shows that most older adults need to supplement B12, that they're unable to get the amount of B12 that they actually need for health from their food. So this needs to be on your radar. It doesn't mean you need to rush out and get B12 shots. Research shows that you can supplement a B12 supplement and get the amount that you need. And those are easily found. They're inexpensive. You don't have to get a special brand. Even if you take a high dose, it would probably be okay, even though we don't like you to take high doses. We want you to supplement as close to only 100% of the RDA as possible. But it's something that you need to be aware of, and probably as you get older, as I said, a majority of adults do need to supplement this. They're unable to get it from their diet. And it's not because they're not eating well, it's because of changes in their body that are occurring that don't allow them to get it from their food into their body. Okay, so one of the other changes is the B6. B6 is kind of known for the energy vitamin, which is why it's here under the energy category. And certainly if you're deficient in B6, you're going to have less energy. And B6, though, if you are not deficient, supplementing more B6 is not going to give you more energy. So I want to be clear about that. So we're talking about avoiding deficiency. Okay, so more doesn't mean more energy, just avoiding deficient B6. Now B6 is one vitamin that they put in every energy, whatever, drink, food, you name it. Anything that promises energy, they always add B6 to. Again, it's not going to give you more energy unless you're deficient. But as we get older, we are less able to get B6 as well. And so it's something that needs to be on our radar. Now, I want to caution you about this one. I'm not encouraging you to rush out and supplement B6, particularly because B6 is one vitamin, even though it's water soluble, in high doses can cause long-term nerve damage. So getting high doses of B6 doesn't just wash out of your body like other water-soluble vitamins if you don't need it. It can cause long-term damage. So if you are thinking about supplementing B6, you need to make sure you get a low-level supplement. Again, as close to 100% of the RDA as possible. So with B6, a couple reasons why it's impacted as we get older. Of course, the lack of acid in our stomach that I mentioned, but also as we get older, a lot of us, because of the changes in our GI system, are more likely to have heartburn or acid reflux, and or other issues, which we're going to talk about. But because of those changes, if you're taking an antacid, that means you're even less likely to get the B6 and the B12 from your food. So that actually further decreases the acid, which is the goal, so you don't get heartburn, but it means less of those nutrients you're getting from food also. So that can have an impact. Also, we see that if you have arthritis, and this is a real issue for all of us, no matter who you are, even if you don't have debilitating arthritis, your joints are breaking down and are likely to have some form of arthritis. And research shows that that decreases your ability to absorb B6. So that's another change that often comes with aging that's going to impact your nutrition. And B vitamins, of course, are really just essential for energy. So besides energy, just staying healthy with the changes as we age. So we want to stay strong, have lots of energy, and of course avoid disease and stay healthy as we get older. Some of the nutrition changes that you need to think about. Of course, the big ones in our country: heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, but really when we talk about heart disease, the number one killer, it's lifestyle related. It's a diet that can be greatly impacted by your lifestyle, so how active you are, but certainly by nutrition. So a lot of these things we do have control over. And a lot of the major diseases like the ones mentioned here, blood pressure, Alzheimer's, heart disease, those and a lot of diseases are really driven by a chronic low level of inflammation in the body. So chronic inflammation is something that we're learning we can treat, especially through diet, through all ages of our life, but especially if we start young. It's going to have an impact on developing some of these issues as we get older and trying to avoid them. So we can follow a diet that's going to decrease inflammation in our body, and that's going to encourage us to avoid a lot of these diseases when we get older. So one of the ways that we can do that is by keeping our weight down. So excess body fat is directly linked to a lot of disease. Obvious, you're thinking diabetes, heart disease, but even cancer. So making sure that you are doing your best to, as you get older, cut back your calories appropriately and hopefully not gain weight. That's one thing you can do to help avoid disease, is to limit that excess body fat. Easier said than done, I realize. So as well, when we're looking at things that are within your control diet-wise to limit inflammation as you age, we're going to talk about how to increase nitric oxide. That's one way that you can increase blood flow and help decrease inflammation. And nitric oxide, by the time you hit age 40, so a little younger than the 50 that we've been talking about, where a lot of the changes take place age-wise, when you hit 40, your nitric oxide levels in your body decrease by 50%. And that's significant. You can see here on the slide a lot of the things that are affected. You can see that the benefits of increased nitric oxide, or having an appropriate amount of nitric oxide in your body, is it relaxes blood vessels, which lowers your blood pressure. It lowers cardiovascular disease risk. It acts as a neurotransmitter to optimize brain function. It improves bone density and eases joint pain. May help slow age-related macular degeneration, so that's your eyes, your eyesight, and alleviate erectile dysfunction. So these are all problems as we get older, and nitric oxide almost sounds like a miracle cure. It's not quite a cure, but it does have a very profound impact. And this is something that you can increase in your body. So in other words, you can overcome that age-related deficit with nutrition. Getting about 2 cups of greens a day is the way to do it. And sure, if you're in the habit of regularly having a salad or, greens that you saute, you might be getting those 2 cups, but every day may be a challenge. So if this is an area, you may want to consider supplementing. And they make greens powder. A great brand is Heart Greens by Human Inn, as in Nancy Inn. That's a good brand that's really high quality. But really, You're looking at a greens powder. It's just where they take greens, they freeze dry them, and then grind them down into a powder. So if you were looking at a greens powder in store, it would just have like kale, spirulina, just greens. It would have nothing else in there. It's just 100% food product. On the back, it would even probably say nutrition facts, not supplement facts, because it's just greens, nothing else added, into a powder. They can get those 2 cups of greens down into about less than a teaspoon worth of greens powder, and that can be added in a smoothie. You can take it like a shot. They're not cheap, the greens powders, but again, if these are concerns that you have, especially blood pressure, etc., this is a natural way that you can really address that. And again, your nitric oxide levels have decreased by 50%. You can address those deficits with your nutrition. You can eat the 2 cups of greens a day, or you can supplement, or a combination of both. But it is something that you would see a big benefit as you get older if you can work on increasing those nitric oxide levels. So when we're looking at inflammation and aging, going back to that, we want to really focus on a diet that's rich in color. So antioxidants usually are synonymous with color, and omega-3. So getting a good variety of food is going to be really key to optimizing your amount of omega-3 and getting adequate color. If you are, say, one of those people that's like, I'm eating chicken every day, that's what we eat in our house, and you feel like that's healthy, you're actually probably getting a lot more omega-6. It's not a bad fat, it's a polyunsaturated fat, just like an omega-3. But when we look in the body and the absorption of the two, you need, they compete, omega-3 and omega-6. And if you're taking in a lot of omega-6, it's going to win out for absorption over any omega-3 you're taking in. Omega-3 is found in far less foods than omega-6. Omega-6 is found in your chicken, your salad dressing, your eggs, a lot of foods that we eat every day. Soy, it's found in a lot of your vegetable oils. Again, it's not a bad fat. It's a heart-healthy fat per se, but it can become inflammatory when you're having too much of it and not enough omega-3. So the message here really is to focus on increasing the omega-3 in your diet. The easiest way to do that is fish, of course. But another way to look at it, as I'm encouraging to do, is to think about greater variety in your diet. So specifically trying to, I use rules in my household, like if you eat a food once in the day, we don't eat it again. So in other words, if my kids choose to have a banana at breakfast, they get no more bananas that day. If they want a piece of fruit, they have to choose a different fruit. That's going to get more colors, greater variety. If we have, I try not to have the same animal twice in a week, so we don't have chicken more than twice a week is the goal. We have other animals if we're using animal meat. Or whatever you want to use for your protein. But the goal is variety. The greater variety you have in your diet, the less likely you are to have pro-inflammatory foods or issues, and the more likely you are to get the anti-inflammatory foods. Again, that's kind of a different way to think about trying to get the colors that you need and the variety, the nutrients that you need, especially omega-3. You still need to include fish or supplement or algae, but you need those nutrients. We need more omega-3, a little less omega-6, higher variety, lots of colors. One of my biggest mantras I tell my athletes, and I teach in my house and live by, is to look for 4 or more. So 4 or more colors on every plate, 4 or more. So when you look down at your plate, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever meal you have, see how many colors are on that plate. And I challenge you to try to get 4 or more on every plate. That's a great way to ensure that you're getting good variety and a host of antioxidants. Again, colors and phytonutrients or antioxidants, those things that help fight off inflammation and bad things in your body, are going to come from color. So more color means more things on your team to help fight disease, and that's going to become more important as we get older and try to avoid disease. So how do we fit all of these things into our diet as we get older to stay healthy? Well, the good news is when we look at what's the best way to eat as we get older, and you look at some of the major diets that are out there, whether it's the DASH diet or a vegan diet or the Mediterranean diet, You can debate which one you think is best. What we find is they have a lot of commonalities. So all of these successful diet plans in common have plant-based. So a greater emphasis on plant. So I mentioned earlier in the presentation that you have an increased need for protein as you get older. And so I really want to emphasize that you try to get that increased need in protein from plant-based proteins. That's going to make a big impact on staying healthy and limiting all those disease risk factors. So maybe as you get older, think about including more plant-based proteins. But plant-based is going to ensure that you're getting more fiber, which you need, of course, to help your GI system as you get older. It's going to ensure that you're getting more of those colors that you need. It's going to ensure that you're getting more potassium, which can help control blood pressure and heart rate. It's going to ensure that you're getting all of those phytonutrients that you need to fight disease. So plants become really important as we get older, and it should be an area that you're thinking, what do I want to do to stay healthy, have more energy, not gain weight, stay strong? Plant-based. Think about including more plants in your diet to meet your needs. That also may inadvertently help you cut calories. Having half your plate of vegetables and then no more than a quarter of the plate protein and no more than about a fist-sized serving of carbohydrate, which we call this the plate method, is a way that you can naturally control your calories a little better if that's something you're thinking about with trying to maintain your weight as you age. Your vegetables typically have a lot less calories compared to like a potato or rice. So filling that plate up with broccoli or carrots or all the other vegetables that you love or are working to love, especially as you get older, is going to really help you avoid disease and maintain your weight as you get older. So really key to focus on the plants as we get older. Recommendations for achieving that is working on 2 to 3.5 cups of vegetables per day and 1.5 to 2.5 cups of fruit a day. So those are the recommendations to meet your needs. And if that's more than you're getting now, again, you may look at, can I cut some of the other areas, like maybe the carbohydrate portion, or maybe you might need to cut down on protein depending on where your diet is now in order to meet these produce recommendations. But again, no matter what plan you're following as you age, it needs to include more plants. And again, the plate method is an easy way to kind of keep your eye on what you're eating as you get older, and that's half the plate is fruit or vegetables, no more than a quarter of the plate, which is usually about 4 fingers worth, is going to be your protein, and then no more than a quarter of the plate, or about a fist worth, being your carbohydrate. Okay, so this is my plate for older adults. It's not a lot different. It just really focuses on more water, as we mentioned, decreased sugars, which is important for avoiding inflammation. I didn't mention that earlier. Increasing fiber and making sure you're getting more of vitamin D, vitamin B12, some of those nutrients that we mentioned are less. And this can be found through the University of Florida, and also, of course, you'll get a copy of the presentation here today, so you can look back at these notes and reflect on any of them that you want to see in greater detail. So just to kind of summarize where we are with our presentation today. So as we get older, and again, the effects of aging are really starting to set in our mid-20s, so this is for all of us. We're experiencing changes in our body that need to be addressed. Some of it means that we need to eat a little differently to make sure we're still getting the nutrition from our food that we got when we were 20, when we're age 50. We may need to eat more of it or supplement. It means that we need to be more aware of what we can do to preserve our muscle. That's one of the most important things you can do to stay strong, healthy, have lots of energy, and avoid disease. Preserve muscle. And changes in your diet, including more protein and more of the vitamin D, the B12, the B6, the calcium, those things become really important. Better hydration. So really thinking about, hey, my body's changing as I get older, and what do I need to do to stay healthy and feel great? Maybe it's adding those cups of greens a day, but you have a choice on how you can do it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it with your nutrition, but probably it's going to involve a more plant-based diet. Thank you guys for sitting here today. If you do have questions, of course, you're always welcome to follow up with me, and you can contact the HR department and they'll put you in touch with me. Thank you so much.